Hey guys, it's Janie. Welcome back to the Bookworms Buddy. It's time for my November wrap-up. Hey guys, welcome back. Welcome new subscribers. Thank you all for your continued support. So it is time for my December wrap-up. How can we believe it is already December? Time is flying by. So let's just get started on this. The first book that I read in November was Hunting Adeline by H.D. Carlton. I'm not going to go through a whole big long explanation of these books. You guys can go back and watch the Tackle My TBR videos where I talk a little bit more about these books. But in this book, we're following Adeline, and now she has been abducted, and she is going to be sold into the skin trade. And Zaid must rescue her and stop this whole ring that is going on. And that's pretty much the story for this one. I did rate this one 4 stars. Like I explained before, they're very, very, very dark stories. So if you aren't in a frame of mind for that, then you might not want to pick this up. There's also a lot of triggers in here for specific things. So keep that in mind before you read that duet. The next book that I read was XOXO, and this is by Deborah Bladden. And I picked this book up because I wanted an X for my A-Z challenge. I kind of slacked there a little bit at the end of this, and I still needed several letters, and X was one of them. In this book, we're following Arietta, and she works for this Mr. Calvetti. Now, this is number 4 in the series, but it's romance, so I think maybe it kind of changes stories. They're probably going to be brothers, or it's obviously a family of Calvettis. So she works for Mr. Calvetti. He's very egotistical, not a very nice man. She would call him Mr. Dick. But she sends an email to her best friend who works there, and she's talking about him and calling him this name. And it actually accidentally gets sent to him instead, and thus the story goes on. So this is enemies to lovers kind of story. I rated it 3.5 stars. It was a cute story. It flowed really well, but it's just like pretty much every other one. So nothing super special about it. The third book that I read was Written in Blood by Chris Carter. And no, I'm not going to ramble on this one. But we are going to talk about Angela, who is a pickpocket. And she pickpockets the serial killer. And now he's after her. He needs to get her, and she's going to pay for stealing his bag, because in the bag was a journal that he kept for each of his victims. So, very good. Love the story, of course. The next book that we read was Just One Day by Gail Forman. I know I'm super late to the bandwagon on this. I think it's a duology. In this book, we are following, what was her name? Allison. And they got to go to her and her friends for a school, like a preparation for college kind of thing. They get to go overseas to England. They really wanted to be able to go to Paris, but it's not going to happen until she meets Willem. And Willem takes her to Paris for just one day. They really hit it off well. She feels herself very connected to him, and then he leaves. And that's pretty much the story. Her trying to figure out what happened, even though she knows it was just one day. Complete stranger. So, yeah. That one, I think I rated that one 3 stars. I didn't write that down. But again, this was for my A-Z challenge because I needed a J, so I picked it up. And it flowed okay. The story flowed okay. But, I don't know, there's just a lot of unbelievable things in the story. And it just didn't quite click for me. So, I gave it 3.5 stars. Okay, the next book that I read was Vanishing in the Height, and this is by Max Tomlinson. This one was featured in my Thriller Thursday, so you can go watch a better rundown of this story. But in this story, we're following Colleen. She is an ex-convict, and she's trying to reach out to her daughter, and she can't get very close because being an ex-convict, and there's a restraining order against her, so she has to kind of see her daughter from afar. She wants to make sure she's being treated well, and this and that. But she is also a detective. She's unlicensed, but she does get hired by Edward Copeland to figure out, or her to solve, the murder of his daughter 11 years ago. The case went cold, and no one's really concerned about it anymore. So she gets hired, and she's bound and determined to figure out who murdered his daughter and what exactly happened. She does run into some resistance to the police force just because she is a convict. You know how that goes. And that's pretty much the story. It was really, really good. I gave this, I think, 4.5 stars. If you want a really good kind of mystery thriller, this one was really good. This is the first time I've ever read anything by Max Tomlinson, so really enjoyed that one. Okay, the next book that I read was Does It Hurt by H.D. Carlton. I really did enjoy the duet with the first two. So I figured I would pick this one up. This one is a girl. Did I write her name down? I'm always so bad. Sawyer. She's running from a really bad situation, and she's kind of like in hiding, and she's trying to make her way and survive. And then she meets Enzo. I really don't like that name. And they really hit it off this one day, and you know, hanging out and this and that, and she steals his identity. And so now she's not only being followed by one person, now Enzo is trying to find her, and she's going to pay. I really, really, really did not like Enzo at all. Not even one bit through the whole story, because he's just, the things he would say, the things he would do, just really hit me the wrong way. I just don't like the degrading of women, and there was a lot of that in this book. And the story was so good too. I don't know why it has to be written like that. I was teetering between 2.5 to 3 stars. I went with the 3 stars because it did flow well. I did like the actual story that was there, but yeah, he just kind of ruined that story for me. So 3 stars. I might even have to go back and change it to 2.5, but we'll see. Not the best one. The next book I read then was Undertow, and this is by Michael Buckley. In this story, we're kind of in our modern day, but not. So she's on Coney Island, and the Alphas invade their space, and the Alphas are fish people. So you've got some mermaids, you've got just weird looking characters when they come out of the water. The story was great. I wish that they weren't fish people, because it just seemed kind of odd to me. But anyway, they invade, they march the streets at night, you know, and nobody wants to do anything to stop it. They are trying to control things. They have the right to be there, this and that, and then they start forcing the Alpha's children into the schools. And so Lyric, who was our main character, is recruited to kind of help, like, the prince of this species, the Alphas. And that causes issues all on its own, because she is not the Alpha. She is, you know, human. And it causes a lot of friction with friends and other classmates, and a lot of things go down and this and that. But the story is really good. I just wished it was not fish people. But I did give it 4 stars. So it was a decent story. It flowed very well. I think I read it in like a day. So it was pretty good. And the last book I read was Queens of Geek. And this is an LGBT, and we're following Charlie and Taylor. Charlie is a girl. They're really good friends, and they go to SuperCon. Also, an interesting detail in the story is that Taylor is autistic. So you see her going to the SuperCon, and you see her discovering who she is, or they're preparing for college. I think it's the ending of their senior year, and they get to go to SuperCon. And then you got Charlie, who broke up with her co-star because she's got a YouTube show, and it's super popular, and that's the reason why she was invited to SuperCon. And she brought Taylor and another friend along, and it was a pretty decent story. I ended up rating it 4 stars. I thought it was fantastic that we've got this girl who's autistic. She has Asperger's, and you watch her, change through the story and become who she is. And it was really very touching parts to the story. I really enjoyed it. The flow was really well in the story, and it had a good story to it. So really enjoyed that one. I think I said 4 stars. But that is what I read in the month of November. I read 8 books. For the most part, I enjoyed most of them. You can't always have perfect books every single time. But yeah, if you guys have read any of these books that I have talked about today, let me know in the comments below what your thoughts were on those books. And that's about all I have for you guys today. Thanks for staying tuned, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.